Hi, welcome to Pink Board. Today we are going to see the summary of the last lesson, which is written by Alphonse Daudet. When you take this lesson, this is given there in CBSE 12th standard book as the first lesson and in 10th standard Samachir book as the 6th lesson in 6th chapter. Okay, so before we go to the lesson, we need to know about the background of this lesson. What is the background of this lesson is Franco-Prussian War. So the war between France and Prussia. So whether it has some influence over the school life or not, that's what we are going to see in this lesson. So before we move to the lesson, we need to know about the characters. We have Master Hamel and Franz as major characters and few other minor characters as Watcher, Old Horser, former mayor and former postmaster. So here this lesson is in a way of narration which is done by Franz, a schoolboy. So when you take this lesson, the lesson starts like this, that is Franz started late to school on that particular day. So on the way he could able to find that the birds are chirping and the day is so bright and warm and Prussian soldiers are drilling behind the sawmill. So all these tempted him the more than going to school because his master informed him that he will be questioning on participles. He don't know anything about participles and that's why he hesitated a lot and that's why he started late to go to school. So on the way, he found a bulletin board and there is some news in the bulletin board and because of that a big crowd is there in front of it. So in that crowd, we found this blacksmith, Watcher. So he is standing along with his apprentice and he is calling our Frank, okay, telling that, hey pub, what makes you to go so fast? He asked. So here, what Franz thought is this man, the blacksmith, is criticizing him and that's why he hurried without hearing to what this man is talking. So when he went to the school, he found it seems to be somewhat unusual and something which made him to guess that it's not a working day. So what happened is usually when the school is working, we could able to hear so much of noises in the school. So how it is given here in the text is as a desk, closing and opening of desk. That is, we used to close the desk and open the desk to take the books out or to keep our notebooks in. So that sound will be heard. And next sound is unison. Unison is the children who are reciting in chorus. So when they try to recite in chorus, we would expect them to speak in one voice. That is together. It has to be as one with coordination. So that is what is unison. So that sound will obviously be heard in school. And then the ruler, the teacher tapping the ruler over his table, asking the children to keep quiet. So these many noises can be heard in our classroom. When you go on the street itself, you could able to identify or you can notice that the school is working. But on that day, when Franz went near the school, it seems to be so silent. And he was shocked whether the school is working or not. He started to have doubt. So before he went inside the classroom, what he did is he peeped. That is, he saw through the window what people are doing inside the classroom. They all were well seated. And here he hesitated to enter the class because he thought that the master will shout. So when he appeared in front of the master, what the master did is, out of his surprise, what happened, he asked them to come and sit inside the class. He said that, hey, we are going to start the lesson without you. Come and sit in your place. That's how the master said. He was so shocked. And after he sat in his place, he found the master in special dress. So this dress the master used to wear when it is a day for distributing the prizes or at the time of inspection. It is nothing special in that day, but still the master is wearing. And he was more surprised when he found the back bench, which always used to be empty, is filled with villagers. That is, old officer is sitting, former mayor is sitting there, and then former postmaster is sitting, and several other villagers are seated over there. And now he started to think upon, okay, what is the reason for all these? By the time the master announced that this is your last French lesson. So he told that that's all. You're not going to learn your mother tongue anymore. You're not going to have any French classes anymore. So this is going to be your last class. On hearing to that, he was so startled. What is this? I haven't learned my mother tongue at all. And the teacher is announcing that this is the last class. And he started to relate with all these things. That's why the crowd is there in front of the bulletin. That's why the villagers are there sitting in the classroom. And that's why the master is wearing the special dress as a sort of showing respect to the language. And when he is thinking about all these, his turn to recite came. The master called out Frank's name and asked to read. Okay, so what happened here? No, with all these thoughts, Franz decided to read the text clearly, but as he is not having sufficient practice, he couldn't able to do that. He felt ashamed. And that's what the master says is, we all have to be reproached for that. The meaning of reproached is blame, because it's not your mistake. The master said, it's not only the mistake of the boy, it's a mistake of everyone. That is, the parents never allowed the children to learn. They gave importance by sending them to work and earn some money out of it. And then when you take the master, okay, the master would like the children to flower the plants, and then whenever he feels like going for fishing, he would ask them to stay at home, that is declaring holiday. So that's how he also did. When you take the children, they are not interested to learn at all. Okay, they would go in search of bird sex, or they would like to go for sliding in Sar, or they think that carrying these books, textbooks, are heavy for them to do. So that's how they taught. So that's why the master is telling it is the mistake of everyone. Okay, you should not feel bad for that, like that he said. And what he did is, he started to teach the lessons, and what he taught is, in one stroke, okay, in one class, he want to fill the children's mind, the people's mind with the knowledge whatever he has. And that's how he started the class about telling about the language. Okay, so he started to say that this French language is the most beautiful and logical language in this world. And then he gave a exercise on grammar. So by the time Franz thought that I haven't understood grammar like this at all, okay, and also he thought that my master haven't had this much of patience to explain us clearly, and this exercise seems to be so clearly understood for that boy. And next came a writing lesson. Okay, he wrote in his own hands, and he gave it to the children to write. And they were scratching over the paper and writing. And what is written there in the paper is Franz Alsace. Franz Alsace. So when you look at the paper which is written Franz and Alsace over the table, it is given here as if the flags are floating over in the classroom. And then he gave a lesson in history, and after that he gave something on phonetics. Phonetics is nothing but the pronunciation sounds. That is, if you take in English, we have it as a, ba, ka, ta, so like that. So here what is given in the text is ba, bi, bu, be. So when you take the phonetics which is recited by the babies, by the time old Hauser also did that. So it is very clear that even the old man in the village don't know even the alphabets of their mother tongue. So here these are the lessons that the teacher was teaching to the people who gathered on that day. And here we come to know that this master worked for 40 years. So it is much disturbing for the man to leave the place. He couldn't able to accept that. So he was very comfortable in that place, having his children in front of the classroom, that is in front of him, and the plants outside the garden. So the trees and the creepers which are planted by the master have grown well enough. So it is very difficult for the man to leave this place and move on. So here at last, by the time 12 o'clock, the church bell rang. So it's a time for doing prayer, and then the Prussian soldiers who were drilling behind the sawmill, were returned, and while they are returning, the sound of trumpet was also heard, and that made the man to immediately get up, okay, and he wanted to finish off the class by telling a final note, but he felt so emotional he couldn't able to open his mouth and say something. So what he wrote on the board is Vive la France. So he wrote that Vive la France over the board. The meaning of that is long live France. So he wrote like that, and he couldn't able to open his mouth to ask the children to disperse from there. So he just showed through action that you can move away. That's all. The classes are over. So this talks about, okay, our mother tongue, how far learning our mother tongue is essential. Okay, so we should not neglect our duty in any form. So here I have given the summary in English, and my video of summary in Tamil is also available. If you feel like, you can have a look at it. Thank you.